Okay, so I'm going to try to sort of do the impossible, which is talk about how to write scenes, which is a bit like talking about how to dance or other physical activities. You can only get so far by talking about it. It's mostly done by feel, intuition, instinct, moment by moment, but I'm going to try. I work in drama, but what drama even means can be an open question. David Mamet boiled down drama in an all caps memo to his long suffering writing staff on the unit like this: drama is the quest of the hero to overcome those things which prevent him from achieving a specific acute goal. End quote. But Alexander Mackendrick, in his book on filmmaking, which is more or less my Bible, gives a slightly different definition. His is drama is anticipation mingled with uncertainty. End quote. Okay, so most of how I think about writing scenes can be thought of as a negotiation between those two definitions. Mamet's definition is centered on the character and his or her goals. Mackendrick's definition is centered on the viewer and his or her emotional state. So when I'm working, I try to take turns looking at scenes from both perspectives. What my characters are desiring, thinking, and feeling on a moment-to-moment basis, which is Mamet, and what my audience is feeling on a moment-by-moment basis, Mackendrick. So it's sort of like toggling back and forth. I try to embed myself in my character's point of view in one pass, and then I try to step back and look from a bird's eye point of view on the next. And I kind of go back and forth, microscopic to telescopic, telescopic to microscopic, rinse and repeat. It's hard to do both at the same time, so I alternate. And in following Mamet, the protagonist of any scene should have a specific acute goal in that scene. That is, he or she is engaging in some sustained pursuit from scene to scene, where either success or failure is possible. Something tangible, not, poetically thematic. And I think that largely tracks. Generally, I do find that stories ride on desires. Someone actively wants some specific thing. That's the story. By and large, it seems to take three major forms. One, someone is searching for something they don't have. Or two, someone is trying to keep or protect something they already have. Or three, someone is trying to get back something they've lost. There's obviously exceptions, but generally, it seems kind of like the case to me. So, under the sign of David Mamet, dramatically speaking, the pursuit of an acute, tangible goal is what should structure each and every scene. This pursuit should be what brings the protagonist to the scene in the first place. Without the pursuit or desire or goal, the scene wouldn't exist, or at least it wouldn't be worth dramatizing. And this pursuit or desire is also what directs the character's actions within that scene. And it defines the conflict in that scene, since whatever's the antagonist in that scene is what's blocking the protagonist from achieving that goal. And finally, the scene is over when either the protagonist achieves his or her immediate pressing goal, or when they figure out they need to find another way. In Mamet's all caps terms, quote, it must culminate with the hero finding him or herself either thwarted or educated that another way exists, end quote. So I think that means a scene ends by redirecting the protagonist into his or her next scene. And from where I stand, all this sounds a lot like structure. The character's pursuit brings them to the scene, carries them through that scene while also defining the nature of its conflict, and then carries them out to their next scene. And that's structure not just on a scenic level, but a holistic one. Because not only does each scene itself need to be dramatic, but each scene must then lead directly to the next dramatic scene, which only occurs because the previous scene directed the protagonist to it. Generally speaking, I think that's as good of a structural roadmap for a storyline as any. I mean, there's more to overall structure than that, especially in terms of juxtaposing storylines or characters who at some point are going to intersect with each other. But in terms of following one character's journey, I kind of think Mamet's dictum holds, but I also don't actually think Mamet's dictum always needs to be the case. I think most scenes should operate with an underlying engine of conflicting desires. But if every scene does, it's kind of exhausting. Cinema is a more pliable medium than that, and I don't think drama is that easily schematized. That's where Alexander Mackendrick's audience-based drama is anticipation mingled with uncertainty comes in for me. For Mamet, a character's through line of desire from scene to scene is almost a direct line, leading from conflict to conflict. But the character's point of view is not the only one. For a viewer, the character's story shouldn't just be a series of conflicts, but rather a roller coaster of anticipation, revelation, suspense, sometimes surprise. So basically, I think if you forget about the audience's experience of the story, your script's going to get boring and muddled and self-indulgent. But if you forget about your character's experience and their inner integrity, your script's going to get incoherent and cheap. So you got to do both. And though I often think of both Mamet and Mackendrick's definitions as I work, all things even, I prefer Mackendrick's. I think it's more flexible, less didactic, less prone to monotony. Plus, I think a big structural key for writing scenes is lodged in that definition. Drama is anticipation mingled with uncertainty. For me, that means on a scene-by-scene basis, I need to be constantly generating specific things the reader is anticipating, specific reasons for the reader to be uncertain about how things will turn out. As an example, I'll use the great famous No Country for Old Men coin flip scene at the gas station. So, a lot of the greatness of that scene is located just in the performances of the two actors. But they wouldn't have had an opportunity for greatness if the scene hadn't been presented on the page with greatness. And that greatness actually totally skips past Mamet's character-based all-caps screed, because Anton Sugar isn't there at the gas station pursuing some acute, tangible goal. He's just getting gas. And the gas attendant isn't after some acute, tangible goal. He's just doing his job. But it's precisely that baseline that this should be a boring, mundane encounter for both parties that helps make it maybe the most memorable scene in the whole film. Mamet's definition doesn't help us understand why, but I think Mackendrick's does. Anticipation. We've seen Anton Sugar brutally kill a couple strangers already, so we know what he's capable of. And the gas station's normal run-of-the-mill behavior for some reason triggers Anton Sugar. So a banal interaction is now suddenly, for no good reason, life or death, though the attendant doesn't realize it at first. Uncertainty. Will Anton Sugar kill this kindly, simple, older man? It all depends on a coin toss. You can't get more uncertain than that. So both the anticipation and the uncertainty in this scene are so well defined that the scene has this almost unbearable tension. We also know that this gas attendant, narratively speaking, is totally expendable. He has no plot armor. Anton Sugar has no reason to kill him, but he's got no reason to spare him either. It's utterly left to chance. And here's something else that I don't think Mamet's greed really accounts for. Because the anticipation and the uncertainty are so heightened, so elemental, and so crystal clear, the Coen brothers have a lot of room to play in the scene. In the context of this scene, they can focus on a plastic wrapper unfolding. They can reside with Anton Sugar as he plays with this poor, unsuspecting, simple man. The more the scene slows down, the tenser it gets. So what makes the scene so great? I think it's exactly that combo. On one hand, there's the structural simplicity of the scene. A remorseless killer walks into a gas station and forces a kindly, unsuspecting older man into a life or death coin flip. Now, anyone conceivably can come up with that. So it's not just that particular dramatic situation that makes the scene so great, but it's how the Coens stage that elemental dramatic scene. More exactly, it's what they focus their attention on, what they're curious about, the wrapper, the coin, the faces, the odd turns of phrase. That's why I say in writing great scenes, talking about it can only get you so far. You can devise and plan a structure for a fantastic situation like the gas station coin toss scene, but that only gets you on the dance floor. It's how you move on that floor that determines your voice, your style, your uniqueness. So, I also want to note that while this scene would totally work as a short film, its real strength is in how it folds into the entire structure of No Country. Because it occurs only after we've seen Anton Sugar kill a couple of random folks for no good reason. So the tension is built in already. But it also sets up the whole coin toss element of Anton Sugar's weird code, which pays off wonderfully / horrifically at the end of the film with Carla Jean. So the gas station scene not only defines Anton Sugar and fascinates us at the start of the film, but it also allows the Coens to stage that later scene with Carla Jean with absolutely heartbreaking minimalism. The gas station scene not only hooks us into this world, but it also establishes the language of the film's storytelling, leading to emotional payoffs way at the end of the film. And because of this earlier gas station scene, when Anton Sugar does confront Carla Jean, we know what to anticipate in that scene, and we know what to be uncertain about in a way that's absolutely unique to only this particular story. That's a pretty great fucking scene. So at the end of your script, you want to have told the reader a story that made sense from each character's point of view. From scene to scene, their motivations and their codes and their desires need to have an inner integrity. Maybe that'll make David Mamet happy finally. But remember, a reader doesn't experience the story from the end as a totality, as a full picture. They experience it on a tenuous scene-by-scene contingent basis. And the main contingency is, are they curious enough about what will happen next that they'll read the next scene, then the next, then the next, because any scene could be the one where you lose them. That's why I believe drama is not a story or a genre or a plot. I believe drama is a feeling, specifically a feeling in your reader, specifically a feeling of anticipation mingled with uncertainty. So however you need to do it, I think you need to cultivate that feeling in your very first scene. Give your reader specific things to anticipate and specific things to be uncertain about. Try to structure your scenes around your character's goals and desires. Their goal brings them to the scene, it guides them through the conflict of that scene, and then it propels them in a specific way to the next scene. And when putting scenes together, try to either have one scene lead directly, therefore, to the next, or have one scene complicate the directly previous scene. Each scene should be either a consequence of the directly previous scene or a complication to it, or both. Drama is a feeling you create and manipulate and sustain one scene at a time. Take it or leave it, but that's the basic principle underlying basically everything I write and revise one way or another. Okay, thanks again for listening. Good luck.